Is preparing the live stream. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Katie Jolly here, naturopath and Dr. Amen licensed brain trainer and resident expert Fitzgibbons. And today we are going to be talking to you about the importance of blood flow to the brain. How are you today, Fitz?
Doing awesome. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So what we're going to do, everybody, is I'm going to share a little PowerPoint about blood flow to the brain and the importance of movement. And then Fitz and I are basically going to chew the fat. So if you're watching the live or you're watching the replay, please just pop any questions in and Fitz or I will get back to you soon. Okay, so let's jump into it. Okay, so let's have a little look here. So I've got a question for you all. Who has ever felt like a sloth? So feeling tired. Yeah, me too, Fitz, me too. Brain fog. You're physically tired, mentally tired, and you just can't get off the couch. And for a lot of people, this may happen in the afternoon when we get a cortisol slump. So that's when a lot of us will go for the caffeine, the sugar. It's the sloth energy that you feel like you need a little bit of caffeine to get going again. So these are the three mistakes, which I've made before too, right? The three mistakes people make when it comes to understanding their brain blood flow, because that fatigue is all about blood flow. Unless you are doing a lot of heavy physical activity, there's a clear difference between being mentally tired and physically tired. So the three mistakes. One, not linking lack of movement to fatigue and also mental health. Okay, and I'm going to unpack this for you as we go. So, two, not knowing blood flow is brain power. Okay, this is really important to get a reframe on movement. We need to know blood flow is brain power. And then three, thinking movement is just the gym. All right. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background on Dr. Amen and Taina Amen, who I study under. So Daniel Amen and his wife Tana, they're the leading brain health specialists in the United States. And they've proven through SPECT scan imaging that lifestyle factors can heal a broken brain. And his Dr. Amen's thing and my thing as well is mental health is brain health. So exercise is one of the key parts of helping your brain. And what you can see in the little diagram here on these brains, right? At age 20, this brain is nice and smooth. And then as we age, this is on the SPECT scan, it shows these little pock marks. And this is where the brain function is starting to decline. But guess what, my friends? Exercise helps. So this is what we're going to be unpacking today. So why should you care about blood flow to your brain? Well, your brain uses 20 to 30% of your daily oxygen. 20 to 30% of what you breathe is used by the brain, okay? If we've got increased blood flow, which happens when we increase our oxygen intake, we've got better cognition and memory. It helps to boost dopamine and serotonin. So we've got the focus hormones and the happy hormones are increased by movement. And then it is also clinically proven that if you move your body regularly, it reduces inflammation, it helps with insulin resistance, so that's tied into type 2 diabetes, and so many more things. But my big focus is mental health. Exercise is clinically proven to help depression and anxiety. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a look. Because over the years, I've worked as a gym trainer and a naturopath. I've done nutrition and I have heard all of the excuses. So if you're watching the live or you're watching the replay, I dare you to type in which excuse do you use not to move. Okay, so I have heard, I don't have time. I hate exercise and sport. This body isn't made to run. I'm too sore. And the best one that I ever heard from quite a few people is I need to lose weight before I start. Okay. So the biggest thing with exercise is we start. We just need to start, even if it's small. And the way I'd like you to think about it is a return on investment. Okay. Movement is the biggest investment that you can make for your health, and it is really easy to implement. Okay, there's a whole lot of others that we'll unpack, won't we, Fitz? But if we look at movement, it is a return on investment for you, because you will experience better sleep, less anxiety and depression. You'll be able to cope with stress better because it helps your cortisol levels in the body. There'll be less inflammation, so less pain, and the flow on effect into every part of your life. Okay, so if somebody came to you with an awesome investment deal where you knew that you were going to get these sort of returns on your daily investment, wouldn't you want to do it? Okay, just food for thought for you. So this is how to implement, and Fitz and I are going to unpack this because Fitz has an amazing method which you can start to implement no matter how unfit you are, how sore you are, wherever your strength or fitness level is, you can actually start using this method. But the decision is to do three things. So make a decision to move daily. Okay, your brain needs daily movement. The more oxygen, the better. What is clinically proven is puffing for 45 minutes, 4 times a week. Okay, but when I first started after my head injury, I would just do 10 minutes on a stationary bike. Okay, I started with 10 minutes and then I built up to 10 minutes 3 times a day. So we can actually chunk it down if you're not able to do the 45 minutes at this stage. The next recommendation is to do some form of strength training twice a week. Okay, this is for, especially for women, is for bone density, but for all of us, the more muscle mass we have, we turn into a fat burning powerhouse. All right. So, and it also helps with creating energy in the brain when we are strong. Okay. So this is a little bit of homework for you. And you might want to write it in the chat if you're brave. But what type of movement do you like to do now and in the past? Okay. I'll share a story. Is that okay, Fitz, before I finish?
Please do.
Yeah. So I taught a workshop earlier in the year, and there was a woman that was there, and I was talking about the importance of exercise, and she said, I hate exercise, I hate sport. And I said, oh, that's really interesting. I said, do you hate all movement? And she said, oh, no, I really like swimming and I like walking, but I don't like team sports. And I said to her, well, team sports isn't just movement. It isn't the only form of movement. The gym isn't the only form of movement. Running a marathon isn't the only form of movement. The key is we want to do something that gets us puffing. Okay, so if that equals dancing around in your lounge to some awesome music in the morning for 10 minutes, and then you take a quick walk at lunchtime, it all counts because it is about movement. Okay, so Fitz, what are your thoughts? And let's talk Tabata.
All right, let's go. So, to touch on some of the stuff that you said, I like what you said about the 3 mistakes of brain blood flow, not linking a lack of movement to a lack of brain function, basically. Not knowing blood flow is brain power. That well said. And then thinking that movement is just in the gym. And some just off the top of my head thought ideas that I said were, I go for a daily walk of 10 to 20 minutes. I and this you can tell me if you agree with this, but breath work,
Yeah.
yes, you're not physically moving the rest of your body, but you're lymphocyzing, you're getting the lungs going, you're getting everything flowing. Also, you talked about, alternative methods of training, so essentially, if I'll give you something I like to do. If I had enough time in the week, I would do this 6 days a week, but because it because of time constraints being what they are, I shoot for 3 days a week of getting into the sauna. And
Mm,
I do twice a week. I do one session, one round of 20 minutes. And then once a week, I do 2 rounds of 20 minutes. I do 20 in, 10 air, 10 cooling down, 20 in, 10 cooling down. So
awesome. So using the sauna. Yeah,
absolutely.
awesome, awesome.
And one last thing about the sauna that's great is they've done studies and they've shown that doing 20 minutes in the sauna is equivocal from a cardiovascular standpoint to doing 20 minutes of moderately intense exercise. And
Woohoo.
what's great about that is that's sitting, that's what's without running, without doing all these other things, which is great for people who are not in shape, not used to working out, and or if you're injured and you just
Mm,
can't, so like you said, there's plenty of all, just
that's
like
awesome,
the
Pips.
excuse of my body isn't made to run. Well, you don't need to run. There's plenty of other options.
Yeah, because I think like after my concussion and I'd damaged my knee and couldn't balance, I think that especially, all the recommendations like you should be doing this much, you should be doing this type. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Hey, and you just because what happens is if it feels too hard, we won't do it. So, like you're suggesting, the sauna is a really easy way to start. Like I found the stationary bike was awesome because I would sit and listen to podcasts as well. So there was a double win, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's unpack the Tabata method fits for people that are watching and how it's helped you.
All right. So without going too far into detail, I'll shoot for brevity on this. What got me into what got me into the Tabata method was I was originally born with a brain tumor due to a birth defect, hydrocephalus. And in a nutshell, what that is basically my brain mass produces spinal fluid, always has, always will. So I have what's called a shunt. The proximal end is in literally in the ventricle of the brain, and then the distal end goes to one of two places, either the atrium or the right atrium of my heart if it's a VA, or lower abdomen if it's a VP. So, and I've had both. Great thing about shunts, they have shelf lives. I've had over a dozen over the years. So that's had all sorts of fun little residual effects. But I digress. Like as I said, I've had both VA models and VP models. Well, the VA model, the one that goes into the heart, the thing about those, they work better, they drain more effectively because it goes into the heart, but they're more dangerous because it goes into the heart.
Mm.
So, if you get infection or anything like that, it can, it can get pretty dicey pretty quick. Uh, Fortunately for me, that didn't happen. But something I did experience as a result of it was, I've been a gym rat for a couple decades now, and at that point, I spent my 15th birthday in the hospital, post from recovering from the surgery. So I after before the surgery, I was, as I said, I was going to the gym, I was working out, 4 or 5 days a week consistently. And back then I was doing kind of like a bodybuilder split, just because that was, what I was introduced to. I'm since then I've evolved to training more like an athlete. So I before, back then, I was doing like a split of, like, I'd have leg days, and then I'd do like back buys, another day I'd do chest tries, et cetera, et cetera. And I started having, after the surgery, this problem I didn't have before it, was on leg days, the highest intensity days, I started having issues where my heart, because it would get accelerated. Apologize for the lighting. It's doing
Oh, good
interesting things
fits.
right now. So yeah, so I on leg days, I started experiencing when my heart would get accelerated for a prolonged period, get accelerated a certain amount, as I said, on like leg day accelerated, when that intensity is at its peak. I would 10 times out of 10 would end up in the bathroom puking.
Mm.
And that was just kind of what, just I experienced that every leg day for a couple months. And so I begrudgingly had to taper back the intensity on leg days, not the other days, because, like I said, I just didn't have an issue with it. And I had to make that adjustment for couple a couple years actually, and I was constantly in hunt of a solution. Like one of my mentors once said, "You only have a problem if you're actively seeking a solution. Otherwise, you're just bitching."
That's
He
awesome.
won't. Yeah, he wasn't one to mince words.
Yeah. So how did you come across the Tabata method?
Great question. So the way I came across it was I was reading a muscle media magazine one day, and I stumbled upon an article, and they didn't call it the Tabata method. They called it guerrilla cardio.
Okay.
And and the protocol that they gave was run the method that they prescribed was utilizing sprints in combat boots.
Yeah. Might turn the viewers off right now. Some of
Yeah,
them. So I'd be there, Fitz. I'd be doing that.
yeah. I mean, I honestly, like, I I've got the I follow Bruce Lee's mentality, absorb all that is useful, reject all that is useless.
Mm,
So I mean, even reading it back then, I'm like, that's a terrible idea. You're running in combat boots, your knees, your hips, and your ankles are gonna absolutely hate you. Now, that being said, doing Tabata with sprints with proper footwear is amazing. It's
yeah.
excellent, but get the proper footwear. So
Yeah.
that's
So what is, in terms of, for the viewers watching that don't know what Tabata is, what is it?
all right. So it's essentially a form of interval training and you do in intervals of high intensity, low intensity, high intensity, low intensity. and it's 20-10. So 20 seconds of max effort, 10 seconds of rest. 20 seconds max effort, 10 seconds rest. And you do, and that's Tabata cycles. 20-10, that's one cycle. And with the protocol that they prescribed, they gave, it was 12 minutes, 4-minute warm up. So like 4 minutes of, brisk walk, and then 4 minutes of 20-10. So 20-10, you would do 4 minutes of that. So you would end up completing just 8 cycles. That's it. And then a 4-minute cool down, like walking. And they prescribe doing it 3 to 4 days a week. So I, as I said, absorb all that is useful, reject all that is useless. The way I decided to implement it was on the elliptical. And for any of your viewers who, just in case someone doesn't know what the elliptical is, it's your arms are here and your legs are, it's a machine where you're doing this with your arms, and and your legs are going, so it's full body. And the beauty of the elliptical is it's easy to stop, it's easy to start, and it's easy to accelerate, decelerate, which is like what you really want with whatever modality that you use to implement the Tabata. You want something where you can decelerate, accelerate very smoothly, things of that nature. And so, as I said, I decided to use it on the elliptical, and I, being the high achiever, overachiever that I am, I opted for 4 days a week. And so I would do 20-minute or 4-minute warm up on the elliptical, and then 4 minutes of Tabata cycles, and then a 4-minute cool down.
So
And
that's 12 minutes. So for all the people out there and all the mums, because I used to be a person that said I didn't have any time as well, that's 12 minutes. It's actually not that much out of your day. And what benefits did you see, Fitz, from using the Tabata?
so for me, after 3, maybe 4, it was probably more like 3, but we'll say 4. 4 months after doing that consistently, I stopped having issues with my heart on leg days.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing after only 3 to 4 months of using the Tabata method. Wow. Because there's a whole lot of clinical research around using, they call it heart variability training, right? And it just means that the heart is going faster or the heart is going slower. So it's Tabata, it's what you're talking about. But they've found, in terms of helping with blood pressure and helping with mental health and helping with fitness in general, you can get more benefit out of just doing that 12-minute snapshot rather than pounding the pavement for hours and hours. So the idea is that you're pushing the threshold of your heart and getting it to be fitter. But your results are amazing, Fitz.
Thank you.
Yeah. What did it do for your brain health in general? Did you notice any changes?
Absolutely. So for me, with all the brain surgeries that I've had, some of the residual effects that I've experienced are memory challenges and brain fatigue, especially brain fatigue. And I really go into depth on my book that I'm writing on how different, how those have affected me and how I overcome those. And for me, the biggest thing has been the brain fatigue. That's where the Tabata has been absolutely game changing, because the brain is a muscle.
Mm.
You know, is you technically, yes, it's fat. It's, you know, it's 2 pounds of, you know, fat, but it functions like a muscle.
Yeah.
Give you an example, you know, you put out a great statistic there where you said that the brain uses 20 to 30% of your daily oxygen. Well, another fun fact is, and I've cross-referenced this, and like Jim Quick talks about this, and a couple other people, but he's the most recent one that I've read about. And the statistic that he gives is that the brain comprises of, or makes up, 2% of your total body weight. Only
Yes.
2%,
Yeah.
but it consumes 2/3 of your daily caloric intake.
Oh, Dr. Amen said it's 20 to 30%.
Is it?
Yeah, well, that's what Dr. Amen said. Maybe we need like a quick Amen battle.
Nice. And hey, I might be misremembering that. I
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
I might be misremembering the exact numbers, but
Yeah,
the
it doesn't
point
matter.
is,
It's consuming a
it's
lot.
high.
Yeah, it's consuming a lot. And that's why I think that, especially if we bring it back to mental health, right? Quite often when we're tired and we're unwell and we may have anxiety or depression and brain fog, we feel that it's us. It feels like an emotional thing. But because of those statistics that you shared, Fitz, you know, looking at how much oxygen the brain uses, how much of our caloric intake, our energy we consume each day is actually used by the brain, how we are moving and what we are consuming are two of the most important factors for mental health in general, overall. You know, and you are literally, if your brain isn't working properly, then nothing works properly. Your brain, and this is what was amazing for me studying under Dr. Amen, because if you actually think about it, for those that you are watching, your brain controls everything. Everything. So if you know, in terms of exercise, if you know that daily movement is a long-term investment for your brain health, wouldn't you want to just give it a go? Hey, Fitz.
Absolutely.
Especially
Yeah.
when you're tired, especially when you're tired. Like I've find if I spend a lot of time on the computer during the day, I will feel more and more tired, even feel physically tired. But if I get out and take the dogs for a walk, I immediately feel better. So it's knowing that difference between being am I brain tired or am I body tired? Majority of us are not body tired. We're not, we're brain tired. Yeah, sorry, Fitz, I kind of like railroaded you.
No, you're good. No, that was a perfect segue. You're good. Um, and to expound on that point, this is a Dr. Amen quote you may be familiar with it, but when your brain is better, your life is better.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I've seen it personally with my mental health journey. You know, I had depression, anxiety, ADHD before the concussion. And then after the concussion, obviously things were a lot worse. But as I started focusing on my brain and what would heal my brain, you know, like I came off my ADHD meds, which was a major for me. You know, I still have moments. I went to visit my husband today at his office, and they were having this really important meeting through, and outside the glass window, I just went. I was like, oh, Katie, like the inappropriate is still there. I can't, that only goes with medication. Yeah. But before we sign off, have you got anything you'd like to add to motivate and help people with even just if they're just getting started? What are your thoughts?
I would say there's a Tony Robbins quote that I love, which is, and this is kind of paraphrasing, but the need for perfection is the enemy of execution.
Yeah.
And basically what that means is you don't need to be perfect. You just need to get started.
Mm.
And like our mentor, Nick Santonastasso says, take imperfect action.
Mm.
You know, just because you only get better through experience. And the only way you're going to get experience, if you don't take action, you're not going to get the experience. And, you know, good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. So just the sooner you can start making mistakes, the better, because the sooner you're going to start learning, and the sooner you're guaranteed to get better. And just failure is a step-by-step system for success.
Yeah.
What separate the biggest separator between successful people and unsuccessful people is that successful people have failed more often.
Yeah.
Have
And
failed more
they're
times.
willing to fail, eh? They're willing to fail. And the one of the things that I've seen through working with people is that perfection is another form of procrastination. So going, oh well, I'm going to join, I'm going to join the gym when I've got more money, or I'm going to start walking when I get a new pair of shoes, or I'm going to start when I lose weight. And actually, if you stop making this whole movement thing about your clothes size and you make it about your brain health, your motivation will completely change. I lay my life down on that, is that don't make it about your dress size, your diabetes, your pant size, wanting to fit into a bikini, wanting to get abs. Make it about your brain health for your mental health so you can sleep better. You can sleep better. You have less inflammation. You have more energy, less brain fog, right? Those are your return on investments, and just start. It's free. Walking's free. Walking's free. You don't need a whole heap of fancy equipment. But what I would suggest is make one decision, which is what Tanner Amen says, is that you make one decision rather than a whole lot of decisions. Just make the decision to move daily. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just move daily. Yeah.
Yeah, a mindset that I've always had, and this is a Fitzerism, so feel free to quote me.
Fitzerism.
Fitzerism, yeah. For me, for me, exercise and fitness is about improving my mental stress capacity.
Yes.
And improvements in physique is merely a happy side effect.
Yeah. Boom. I'm with you, Fitz. Yeah. All right, let's sign off. I've got a little sick child at home that I have to go and play nurse to.
No problem. Family
So,
first.
yeah. Thank you so much, Fitz.
My pleasure.
And I will
Thanks.
see you again. We'll keep this going, my friend.
Sounds awesome.
Okay, lots of love. Bye.
Have a blessed